Welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Entitled Parents Reddit video. In our first story, we have a vintage Redneck Karen. Let's jump right in. This is a friend of the family's experience, not mine, but it was too good not to pass along. This guy got a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Photography back in the 1980s, and unlike many, actually was able to make a living at it by moving back to his hometown and becoming the only professional photographer in a 3-county region that was mostly rural. Rural as in more cows than people, rural as in family trees with damn few branches, rural as in, well, you get the picture. Anyway, in order to survive and have a family, our friend hustled. Wow, did he hustle. And it paid off. Senior portraits, wedding coverage, event coverage, baby pictures, you name it. Weddings were the most profitable, and because of the location, there were some doozies. Aside from the wedding where the bride wore a Walmart lace tablecloth held on by visible safety pins as a combination train and veil, which barely covered her badly misspelled shoulder tattoos and her 3 children from other relationships fighting in the back pew over a Hot Wheels, there was this one. The bride and the groom, as well as the bridal party, were appropriately dressed. Check. The church was tastefully decorated. Check. The minister was booked well in advance, as was the VFW hall down the street for the reception. Check. There were even homemade butter mints on little plates, and they matched the bride's colors. Double check. 3, 2, Houston, we have liftoff, and everyone's happy. The groom's mother, on the other hand, was not happy. She did not like the bride. The bride knew this because her future mother-in-law made a point of telling everyone within earshot that the bride was not good enough for her little baby boy. Myself, as well as the man who told me about this, have no idea if this was true or not. All he cared about was getting paid without having to take the bride and groom to small claims court, something he had to do to Walmart Vail because while she and her 4th husband could afford a new television, a new truck, and a new trailer, they couldn't pay their wedding photography bill. But that's another story. Anyway, Karen, for lack of a better name, made a pest of herself, a self-dipping fly in her son's ointment of matrimonial bliss. The bride, one has to admit, was a good sport. She ignored the wild Canada goose in a people suit throughout the entire pre-wedding photography session. She ignored the wild Canada goose in a people suit during the wedding rehearsal and the wedding rehearsal dinner the night before. She even ignored the wild Canada goose in a people suit as the wedding party lined up in the foyer ready to launch themselves down the aisle towards the flower and candle bedecked altar. However, even the best of sports can only take so much honking. When dealing with a wild Canada goose, people suit or not, you either outrun them, ignore them, or resort to physical aggression. Seconds before you may now kiss the bride chose option number 3, when Karen, the wild Canada goose, honked something extremely rude about her, loud enough for the entire audience, including the bride, the groom, and the minister, to hear. That and the guy mowing his lawn across the street, and possibly the dead people buried behind the building. At this point, our friend who covered it is unclear what exactly the bride spat back split seconds before, with a loud scream of rage, she launched herself over the back of the front pew towards her new mother-in-law, and landed on top of her, ready to go to town. And oh boy, did she! The pews went over, the metal folding chairs went over, hell, for all I know, entire stacks of pew Bibles and hymnals went over. Anyway, Karen, the wild Canada goose, is now honking hysterically, throwing punches. The bride, swearing like a sailor, veil and all, threw punches like the sailor she sounded like. The audience, no dummies, stood back and let them go at it, while the groom, also no dummies, stood near the minister, hands in pocket, rocking back and forth on his heels, wondering if maybe they should take it to the parking lot. After all, it was the Lord's house and they were being terrible guests. Eventually, the bride's father and the groom's father separated the hissing, spitting two. After a few choice swear words at mother-in-law Karen, the bride stormed out of the church, down the street, and into the county courthouse and had the marriage annulled. My friend mentioned that they went ahead and had the reception afterwards. After all, they'd paid for all that beer, barbecue, and cold cuts as well as a DJ. It's not like they could get their money back. And oh yeah, not only did the couple pay our friend for his services in full after the cancellation, they snuck off a few months later, had a courthouse wedding, and left the state. Story number 2. I was his wife, so only I can mourn. This happened a few years ago. I figured it should be good to share now. So my mother is a special sense of entitled. She believes the world owes her anything, everything, and only goes her way. She once got upset at a baby in a restaurant for making noise and told the mother she should have left it in the car. The one person who seemed to get through her skull about her entitlement was my dad. He was a take no BS kind of man, and he would straight up tell her when she was acting like an entitled idiot, often with her complaining afterwards while he was out running errands. Well, in March of 2018, my dad passed away from stomach and liver cancer. I was torn up because I never got to say goodbye before he passed, but I had to remain strong for my family members and help plan for his funeral services. My mom called with a list of things that needed to be done before she came back with his ashes. When I told her how I felt about not being there to say goodbye, she responded, "Well, I wouldn't have allowed you to see him anyway." That somewhat confused me, but I shrugged it off, and with the help of my sister, brother, aunt, and cousins, we began to get things set up for my dad's services. One of the main concerns my sister and I shared was how much of an impact my dad's passing would have on my mom, and the thought sent a chill down my spine. When she arrived a week later with his ashes, it was like she had just gotten set free from entitlement prison. She berated and insulted us for every little thing that looked wrong to her or she didn't like. She didn't like the location that was picked. We weren't doing things fast enough. She should have a chair set up for her so people can walk over to her and give her their condolences. She kept nitpicking and insulting everyone, so much that she made a few family members walk away saying they would be there at my dad's services, but they weren't going to be treated with such negativity in such a tragic time. I tried to be the middleman and help in any way that I could while also dealing with some changes in my life. I was moving to a new place when the bad news hit. Of course, my mom used that as ammo to put me down and say I was being a lazy and uncaring son. I kept my mouth shut and just took it. It wasn't until the day before my dad's services that I'd heard enough tales from family members of how bad my mom was being, so I called a family meeting to talk and try to smooth things out. Now, I know this is a difficult time. We're all mourning and grieving. Dad wouldn't want any of us to be acting like this to one another, so let's work together and finish up what needs to be done before tomorrow. I said that, hoping that would be enough for my mom to see how much of a jerk she's been. Sadly, my words fell on deaf ears as she responded, "I don't know why you all are in mourning. I was his wife, only I have the right to mourn his loss." That tore into me like nothing else before. Where did she have the gall to state that crap? I called her out for being selfish and disrespectful, but she played ignorant and kept pushing fault onto us. Things escalated between us quickly to the point that the police were involved. I never looked at my mom the same after that comment. I cut ties with her a year after, and my life has a lot less drama now. I see her only in passing, and she tries to put on a better than you attitude every time. Truthfully, I am better without her around. She always believed I would be living a dead-end job all alone. I have a decent job, a loving wife, and am striving to do better all the time. Thank you for your patience and taking your time to listen. This is John from /bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to be the first to know when the next one drops, then subscribe and click on that notifications bell. I'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends. See you in the next one.